The compound gate exploded inward with a sound like thunder splitting the earth. Brother Tunde threw himself behind the concrete water tank as splinters of iron rained down like deadly arrows. His heart hammered against his ribs. Through the settling dust, he saw her, Mama Kemi, the landlady, floating 3 feet above the ground, her eyes completely black, her mouth stretching wider than any human jaw should allow. Where is she? The voice that came from Mama Kemi wasn't one voice but dozens, layered over each other like the screams of the damned. Where is the girl who dares challenge me? From room 7, a woman's voice rang out clear and fearless. I'm right here, demon. And I'm not a girl anymore. Zainab stepped into the courtyard, and Brother Tunde's blood turned to ice. Because around Zainab's feet, the concrete was cracking, and from those cracks, pale blue light was seeping out like water from a broken dam. The flowers she'd planted that morning, impossibly, overnight, were now glowing, their petals opening to reveal tiny flames dancing inside each bloom. This wasn't how the night was supposed to go. This wasn't how any of this was supposed to happen. But Brother Tunde is getting ahead of himself. To understand how he ended up cowering behind a water tank while two supernatural beings prepared to tear each other apart, you need to understand what the compound had been like before. You need to understand the special kind of hell that was living under Mama Kemi's rule. 3 months earlier, Brother Tunde had been a different man. Hopeful, even. He'd just gotten his teaching job at the secondary school, finally saved enough to move out of his uncle's overcrowded house in Mushin. The compound in Bariga wasn't much to look at, 12 rooms arranged in a square around a central courtyard, paint peeling, zinc roof patched with rusty metal, but the rent was cheap. Suspiciously cheap. You seem like a good boy, Mama Kemi had said when he came to view the room. She'd smiled at him, her teeth too white, too perfect. A teacher. Very respectable. I like respectable tenants. She'd been beautiful in an unsettling way, skin smooth as a girl's despite the grey in her hair, eyes that seemed to look through him rather than at him. When she'd shaken his hand, her palm had been cold. Not cool. Cold. Like meat from a freezer. There are just 3 simple rules, she'd continued, pulling out a printed sheet. No mirrors in your room. No singing after 8 in the evening. And no planting flowers in the compound. Break these rules, and... She'd smiled wider. Well, let's just say previous tenants who broke them had unfortunate accidents. Brother Tunde should have walked away then. But Lagos was expensive, and his savings were thin, and he'd convinced himself she was just eccentric. Rich people had their quirks, didn't they? He moved in the next day. That's when he met the others. Mama Blessing lived in room 3 with her 2 children. She was a widow who sold provisions from a wooden table outside the compound gate. 5 years I've been here, she told Brother Tunde in a whisper, glancing around as if the walls had ears. 5 years of hell. But where can I go? My husband's family took everything. This is all I can afford. Young Emeka in room 9 was a mechanic, clothes always stained with engine oil, hands calloused and scarred. Don't make eye contact with her, he'd warned. And when she comes to collect rent, have the exact amount ready. Count it twice. 3 times. Because if you're even 50 naira short, she'll take something else instead. Like what? Brother Tunde had asked. Emeka had pulled up his shirt. A scar ran across his chest, perfectly straight, perfectly symmetrical. I was 200 naira short last December. I woke up with this. Doctor said it looked like surgery, but I never went to any hospital. That same night, my promotion at the workshop fell through. Bad luck followed me for months. The stories got worse. Sister Ngozi in room 4 had tried to hang a small mirror to help her daughter get ready for school. The next morning, the girl had fallen down the stairs she'd climbed 1,000 times before, and broken her arm in 3 places. Uncle Femi in room 11 had been humming a song while washing clothes one evening. Just humming. By midnight, his shop in Oshodi had burned to the ground, and the fire marshal said it was electrical, even though Uncle Femi's wiring had been inspected and certified just 2 weeks prior. And then there was the incident with Mrs. Adeyemi in room 6. She'd planted a single rose bush by her window, thinking it would brighten up the dreary compound. Mama Kemi had appeared that same evening, fury rolling off her in waves that made the air feel heavy. Uproot it. Now. But it's just a flower. Uproot it. Mrs. Adeyemi had refused. 3 days later, she went mad. Started screaming about hands pulling her down, about voices calling her name from beneath the earth. They'd taken her to Yoba Psychiatric Hospital. She was still there, Brother Ton heard. Still screaming about the hands. So yes, the tenants were terrified. But they were also trapped. This was Lagos. Finding affordable housing was like finding gold in a gutter, possible, technically, but so rare that most people just learned to live with the garbage. Brother Ton tried to be smart about it. He followed the rules religiously. No mirror, he shaved using his phone camera. No singing, he hummed during the day and stayed silent after sunset. No flowers, he didn't even bring plants inside his room. He paid his rent on time, kept his head down, and tried to pretend he didn't notice the way Mama Kemi only ever came at night, or how she never seemed to blink, or how the money she collected seemed to shimmer and fade in her hands like it was dissolving into smoke. But Brother Ton was also a teacher, and teachers were taught to question things, to investigate, to seek truth. So when he couldn't sleep one night, he did what any reasonable person in the 21st century would do, he Googled the compound's address. Nothing came up. Not on Google Maps. Not on any property website. The address simply didn't exist in any official database. That's when the real investigation began. Brother Ton went to the local government office during his lunch break, asked to see property records. The clerk, a tired-looking woman with reading glasses perched on her nose, had pecked at her computer for 20 minutes before shaking her head. The records show this land has been vacant since 1985. Says here the last registered owner was. She'd squinted at the screen. Kemi Ogunlade. But there's a note. Deceased, 1984. Property in probate dispute. That's impossible, Brother Ton had said. I live there. There's a compound with 12 rooms. There's a landlady named Kemi Ogunlade who collects rent every month. The clerk had looked at him like he was crazy. Maybe it's her daughter. Same name. But Brother Ton had seen the dates. If Mama Kemi had died in 1984, over 40 years ago, how could she be the same woman collecting rent now? Unless she'd been young when she died, which meant she'd be in her 60s at minimum. But Mama Kemi looked 50 at most. Probably younger. He'd started taking notes after that. Documenting everything. The way Mama Kemi's footsteps made no sound. The way dogs wouldn't come near the compound, they'd stop at the gate, whimpering. The way his phone's battery drained faster inside his room than anywhere else, as if something was feeding on the electrical charge. And then there were the dreams. Every tenant had them, though they rarely talked about it. Dreams of being buried alive. Dreams of hands clawing up through floorboards. Dreams of a woman's voice crying, "Let me out, let me out, let me out." Brother Ton had convinced himself he was losing his mind until Emeka pulled him aside one evening in early March. "I tried to photograph her," Emeka had whispered, showing Brother Ton his phone. "Last week, when she came for rent. Look." The photo showed the courtyard at night, lit by the single bulb above room 7. But where Mama Kemi should have been standing, there was only a dark shadow, vaguely human-shaped, with 2 points of light where I should be. "What is she?" Brother Ton had breathed. "I don't know. But we need to leave. All of us. Before." A scream had cut through the evening air. From room 12. They'd all rushed over to find Mr. Okafor clutching his chest, his wife crying, their daughter frozen in shock. "Heart attack," someone had said. They'd called an ambulance. Mr. Okafor had survived, but just barely. And later, his wife had whispered to Mama Blessing that he'd been planning to move out. Had been looking at other compounds. Had broken his silence just once to sing a lullaby to his daughter after 8 p.m. The message was clear: you don't leave. You don't break the rules. You suffer in silence, or you suffer screaming. But then everything changed. It was a Tuesday night in late March when Brother Ton woke to the sound of singing. Beautiful singing, rich and full, a woman's voice carrying a Yoruba praise song through the compound. He checked his phone, 11:47 p.m. Someone was breaking the second row. Someone was committing suicide. He'd thrown on his trousers and rushed outside. Every other tenant was already in the courtyard, staring at room 7 with expressions of horror and fascination. Room 7 had been empty for months. The last tenant had left in the middle of the night, no explanation, just gone. But now, light blazed from the windows. And the voice coming from inside was fearless, joyful even, singing about ancestral protection and divine justice. Who is that? Sister Ngozi had whispered. Who moved into room 7? No one, Mama Blessing had said. I've been watching. No one came. The room was locked. But the door was open now, and in the doorway stood a woman Brother Ton had never seen before. She was middle-aged, perhaps 50 or 55, wearing a white wrapper and white blouse, traditional coral beads around her neck and wrist. Her eyes were kind but fierce, like a lioness protecting her cubs. Good evening, neighbors, she'd said calmly. My name is Zainab. I hope my singing didn't disturb you too much. I was just giving thanks to my ancestors for bringing me home. Home. Emeka had said. You've never lived here. Zainab had smiled. Oh, but I have. A very long time ago. That's when the temperature had dropped. Not gradually. Instantly. Brother Ton's breath had misted in the air, and frost had begun forming on the metal railings. The single light bulb had flickered. And then Mama Kemi had appeared. Not walked up. Not emerged from anywhere. Just appeared, standing in the center of the courtyard, her form solidifying from shadow. Her face had been twisted with rage. You, she'd hissed. How did you get in here? Through the front door, Zainab had said pleasantly. I have just as much right to be here as you. More, actually. You know the rules. You were singing. After dark. Oh, I know the rules. I know exactly who made them. And I know why. The two women had stared at each other, and Brother Ton had felt the air between them crackle with something that wasn't quite electricity but felt just as dangerous. Leave, Mama Kemi had said, her voice dropping to something inhuman. Leave now, or face the consequences. I'm not leaving, Zainab had said. Not until I finish what I came here to do. Mama Kemi had moved forward, glided, really, her feet not quite touching the ground. But when she'd reached the threshold of room 7, she'd stopped. No, not stopped. Couldn't continue. There was something blocking her, some invisible barrier that made the air shimmer like heat rising from tarmac. Mama Kemi's human mask had slipped then. Just for a moment. Her eyes had gone completely black, her jaw had distended, and her voice had become that chorus of screams. Tonight, then. When the moon sets. You and I will finish this. She'd vanished the same way she'd appeared, melting back into shadow. The tenants had rushed to Zainab's door, questions tumbling over each other. Who was she? What was she? How did she know Mama Kemi? What was happening? Zainab had invited them in. Room 7 was impossibly different from how it had been. Where there should have been bare concrete and water stains, there were woven mats, traditional cloth hangings, bowls of water placed in the corners, and mirrors, dozens of small mirrors, hanging from strings at different heights, turning slowly, catching and reflecting light. Mirrors, Uncle Femi had breathed. But the rules. The rules were made to keep you powerless, Zainab had said. Mirrors reflect truth. Truth is what she fears most. Who is she? Brother Ton had asked. What is Mama Kemi? Zainab's expression had darkened. Mama Kemi is a spirit. A vengeful, hungry spirit that feeds on suffering and fear. 41 years ago, she murdered the woman whose face she wears. The real Kemi Ogunlade. My mother. The room had gone silent. Mama Blessing had been the first to speak. Your mother. But that would make you 63 years old. Yes. Zainab had looked at her hands. Though I've aged slowly. Grief does strange things to the body. So does a promise made to the ancestors. She told them the story then. In 1984, Zainab had been 22, newly married, living in the East. Her mother, Kemi Ogunlade, had been a widow running this compound. Back then it had been new, built with the insurance money from Zainab's father's death. Mama Kemi had wanted to help people. She'd kept rents low, helped tenants who fell on hard times, treated everyone like family. But she'd made a mistake. The land the compound was built on had a history. A dark history that the previous owner hadn't disclosed. Something had been buried there in the time before British colonization, something that should have stayed buried. My mother started having nightmares, Zainab had said. Seeing things. Hearing voices. She wrote to me about it, said the compound felt wrong. She wanted to sell, to leave. But before she could, Zainab's voice had broken. I came home for Christmas. December 23rd. I found her in the courtyard. Her body was cold. Her face was frozen in terror. And standing over her was something. A shadow that was trying to put on her skin like a suit. The shadow had seen young Zainab. Had reached for her. But Zainab had run, had survived, had spent the next 40 years searching for answers. She'd consulted Babalawas, gone to churches, visited traditional healers across Nigeria and beyond. And slowly, painfully, she'd learned the truth. The spirit wearing her mother's face was an entity that fed on negative emotions, fear, despair, anger, grief. It had been imprisoned on this land centuries ago by powerful medicine, but the construction of the compound had weakened those old bindings. It had needed a face, an identity, a way to interact with the physical world. So it had taken Mama Kemi's. And you've come back to destroy it? Emeka had asked. I've come back to free my mother's spirit and end this thing's reign. But how? Brother Ton had said. If it's been 40 years, if it's so powerful. Because I'm not the same frightened girl who ran away, Zainab had said. Her eyes had glinted in the candlelight. And because I've made certain arrangements. She hadn't explained what arrangements. And looking back, Brother Ton wished he'd asked more questions. But at the time, he'd just felt hope for the first time in months. Someone was fighting back. Someone understood what was happening. Someone might actually free them. If you are enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below about which part has been the most terrifying so far. Trust me, you'll want to be notified for what comes next. The next few hours had been spent in preparation. Zainab had given each tenant specific instructions. They were to stay in their rooms tonight, no matter what they heard. They were to place bowls of salt water by their doors. They were to pray, whatever prayer felt right, for protection and for truth. What about you? Mama Blessing had asked. What will you do? I'll be here, Zainab had said, gesturing to the courtyard. When she comes, I'll face her. But I won't be alone. My ancestors will stand with me. And she touched the coral beads at her neck. I carry protections she doesn't expect. Brother Ton hadn't been able to sleep after returning to his room. He'd sat by his window, watching the courtyard. Watching Zainab work. She'd created a circle in the center using red sand and palm oil, drawing symbols Brother Ton didn't recognize. She'd placed white candles at specific points. She chanted in Yoruba, her voice rising and falling like waves. And as midnight approached, the compound had changed. The air had grown thick. Heavy. Like breathing syrup. The normal sounds of Lagos, generators, distant music, car horns, had faded until there was only silence. Oppressive silence. At exactly midnight, the candles had gone out simultaneously. Brother Ton had seen Zainab stand, her white clothes glowing faintly in the darkness. And then Mama Kemi had come. Not appeared. Come. crawled out of the shadows like a spider, her movements wrong, her limbs bending at angles that defied anatomy. When she spoke, her voice had been that terrible chorus. You should have stayed away, little girl. Did you really think your ancestor worship and parlor tricks could stop me? They're not tricks, Zainab had said. And I'm not a little girl anymore. The battle had started then, the battle that brought us back to where we began, with Brother Ton hiding behind the water tank as two supernatural forces collided. Mama Kemi struck fast, shadows peeling off her body like living things, stretching towards Zainab with grasping fingers. But Zainab's hands moved in patterns, her lips forming words Brother Ton couldn't hear, and the shadows turned to smoke before they could reach her. You think you can banish me? Mama Kemi laughed. I am fed by 40 years of suffering. I am strong beyond your comprehension. You're a parasite, Zainab shot back. You're weak. You hide behind stolen faces and stolen names because you have no power of your own. The entity's fury was palpable. The ground shook. Windows shattered. And Mama Kemi's form began to change, growing larger, more monstrous, her jaw unhinging to reveal rows of teeth like a shark, her fingers extending into claws. She lunged at Zainab with inhuman speed. But Zainab was ready. She pulled something from her wrapper, a small knife, its blade gleaming silver, and cut her own palm. Blood fell onto the circle she'd drawn, and light exploded upward, a barrier of burning white that stopped Mama Kemi cold. That's not possible, the entity hissed. What are you? For the first time, Zainab smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. You want to know what I am? I'll show you. She stepped toward one of the mirrors hanging in her doorway. And when her reflection appeared, Brother Ton's world tilted. Because the reflection was wrong. Where Zainab stood in the flesh, middle-aged, solid, real, her reflection showed something else. A skeleton in a white wrapper. Bones held together by wool alone. No, Brother Ton whispered. No, that's not. I died 3 years ago, Zainab said, her voice carrying across the courtyard. Car accident on the Lagos-Ibadan expressway. But I couldn't rest. Not with my mother's killer still walking free. So I made a bargain with my ancestors. Give me form until I finish this task. Let me have flesh and blood until justice is done. They agreed. I've been hunting you ever since. Mama Kemi staggered back. You're dead. But how are you? The same way you wear my mother's face. The same way you've clung to this world for 4 decades. We are both ghosts, demon. Both spirits who refuse to move on. The revelation hit Brother Ton like a physical blow. Zainab wasn't their savior. She was just another ghost, driven by vengeance, held together by willpower and ancestral magic. What kind of fight was this? What kind of battle had they stumbled into? But then the ground began to crack. Not from the fight. From something else. Something beneath. The fissure spread across the courtyard, and from them came a smell, rot and earth and something ancient. The concrete buckled. And from the largest crack, something white appeared. A bone. A human femur, bleached by time. What's happening? Emeka called from his window. More bones emerged. A skull. Ribs. A complete skeleton, still wearing tarnished jewelry, the same coral beads Zainab wore. And clutched in the skeleton's hand was a folded piece of paper, yellowed with age but somehow preserved. Brother Ton didn't think. He just moved, scrambling from his hiding spot, grabbing the paper before either spirit could react. His hands shook as he unfolded it. It was a letter. Written in careful, neat handwriting. To whoever finds this, my name is Kemi Ogunlade. If you're reading this, then I am dead, and the thing that killed me is still using my face. I don't have much time, I can feel it haunting me even now, so I must be brief. I made a terrible mistake. I built this compound on cursed land. The previous owner didn't tell me the history. Didn't tell me what was buried here. Something evil. Something that should have stayed buried forever. But the construction disturbed it, woke it. It's been getting stronger. It wants to wear me. Wants to use me to hurt people. I tried to fight it. I failed. Please, if you find this, destroy the land. Burn it. Salt it. Make it so nothing can ever be built here again. And if my daughter Zainab ever comes looking for me, tell her I love her. Tell her I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough. Tell her to let me go. Brother Ton's voice shook as he read the letter aloud. When he finished, silence fell over the compound. Even Mama Kemi, the thing wearing Mama Kemi's face, had gone still. Mother, Zainab whispered, staring at the skeleton. Oh, Mother. But the ground wasn't finished opening. The crack spread wider, deeper, and from the depths came something else. Not bones. Not light. Darkness. Pure, absolute darkness that seemed to swallow the very concept of light. And from that darkness came laughter. Deep. Ancient. Amused. Finally, a voice said. Not Mama Kemi's chorus of screams. Something older. Something that made Brother Ton's teeth ache and his bones feel brittle. Finally, you understand. A shape began to rise from the pit. Formless. Massive. It wasn't quite shadow and wasn't quite smoke. It was the absence of things. The space where hope went to die. I am not the demon that killed your mother, little ghost, it said to Zainab. I am what created that demon. I am what's been buried here for 500 years, feeding on every drop of suffering this land has known. Your mother's death. Your daughter's vengeance. That pathetic spirit wearing a stolen face. All of it. All of you. You've been feeding me. Mama Kemi, or the thing that had been Mama Kemi, was trembling now. No. No, I was in control. I was. You were my puppet, the entity said. A useful face. A way to gather food. But I've grown strong enough now. I don't need you anymore. The shadows reached out and pulled the Mama Kemi spirit apart like tissue paper. She screamed, all her voices screaming at once, and then she was gone, dissolved into the greater darkness. The entity turned its attention to Zainab. And you? Little ghost playing at justice. You've done exactly what I needed. Your righteous anger. Your refusal to rest. You've been a beacon, drawing others here, keeping the fear alive. You fed me so well. Zainab fell to her knees, her form flickering. No. I was supposed to. I was going to. You were going to die 40 years ago, the entity said. Then 3 years ago. You keep clinging to life, to vengeance, to pain. You're no different from the demon you hunted. You're just another ghost who won't let go. The skeleton, the real Mama Kemi, began to glow. Soft blue light emanated from the bones, and a figure materialized above them. Translucent, faint, but recognizable from old photographs Brother Ton had seen in the letter. The real Kemi Ogunlade. The kind woman who'd only wanted to help people. Zainab, the spirit said gently. My daughter. My beautiful daughter. You have to let me go. Mama. Zainab's voice was young suddenly. Childlike. Mama, I can still save you. I can still. There's nothing to save, my love. I died 41 years ago. My time is long past. But you? The spirit reached out to touch Zainab's face. You died 3 years ago. Your husband is waiting. Your children miss you. Stop fighting death, child. Come home. But the demon is nothing without us, Mama Kemi's spirit said. It feeds on those who cling to pain. On spirits who refuse to move forward. Without that, it's just old darkness. Powerless. Dying. The entity roared, and the darkness surged forward. But Mama Kemi's spirit stood between it and her daughter, and where the light touched the darkness withered. Take my hand, Zainab, Mama Kemi said. Let's go together. Let's finally rest. Zainab was crying now, her form becoming more and more translucent. I spent so long hunting it. So long angry. I don't know how to let go. Yes, you do, her mother said. You just forgot. Let me remind you. The spirit began to sing. The same song Zainab had been singing earlier. The Yoruba praise song about ancestral protection. But this version was different. It was about release. About peace. About going home. And slowly, Zainab took her mother's hand. The two spirits began to fade, their light growing brighter even as their forms became less solid. The entity tried to grab them, to pull them back, but its darkness couldn't hold them. They were letting go. Releasing their pain. And without that pain to feed on, the ancient evil was starving. No. The entity's voice was weakening. You can't leave. I need you. I need. But they were already gone. Just gone. The light faded. The bones crumbled to dust. And the darkness began to sink back into the earth, its roars becoming whimpers, its power draining away like water through cupped hands. The ground sealed itself. The cracks closed. And suddenly, it was just a courtyard again. Just concrete and peeling paint and a compound full of terrified people. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Mama Blessing started to cry. Uncle Femi started to laugh. Emeka sat down hard on the ground, his legs giving out. Is it over? Sister Ngozi whispered. Is it really over? Brother Ton looked at the spot where the skeleton had been. Where Zainab and her mother had stood. I think so, he said. I think they took it with them. When they let go of their pain, they took its food source. It's probably still down there, but it's weak now. Starving. Maybe dying. We should leave, Emeka said. All of us. Tonight. Before it gets strong again. And they did. By dawn, the compound was empty. Every tenant had packed what they could carry and fled. Brother Ton never looked back. The compound stood empty for 2 years. The government tried to demolish it, but the contractors reported equipment failures and workers refusing to go near the site. Eventually, it was just left there, a hollow shell, slowly being reclaimed by weeds and weather. But this is Lagos. Land is valuable. And people have short memories. 2 years and 3 months after that terrible night, Brother Ton was driving past his old neighborhood when he saw something that made him slam on the brakes. Where the compound had been, there was now a modern apartment building. Sleek glass and concrete. 5 stories tall. A banner across the front advertised, luxury apartments, move in today. His hands shook on the steering wheel. He should drive away. He should keep going. But some terrible curiosity made him park and walk toward the building. The lobby was bright and clean, all chrome and marble. And behind the reception desk sat a young woman, perhaps 25, pretty, professional. She smiled at Brother Ton as he approached. Good afternoon, sir. Are you interested in viewing an apartment? We have several units still available. Aye. Brother Ton's mouth was dry. I used to live near here. I was just curious about the building. Oh, it's wonderful, the woman said. Her name tag read Blessing. Very modern. Great amenities. And the landlady is so kind. She keeps the rent reasonable, unlike most places in Lagos. Brother Ton's blood turned cold. The landlady. Yes, Mrs. Ogunlade. Would you like to meet her? She's just upstairs. No, Brother Ton said, backing toward the door. No, I have to go. I have to. Oh, but she'd love to meet you, Blessing said. Her smile didn't change, but her eyes did. They flickered. Just for a second. Black as void. She's very particular about her tenants. Just a few simple rules to follow. Nothing major. Brother Ton turned and ran. Behind him, he heard Blessing laugh. And underneath that laugh, he heard other voices. Dozens of voices. Hundreds. All laughing together. He made it to his car, his hands fumbling with the keys. As he pulled away, he looked in his rearview mirror. Blessing was standing in the doorway, waving goodbye. But her shadow on the ground was wrong. Too large. Too dark. With too many arms reaching in too many directions. And on the building's wall, partially hidden behind the banner, he saw a sign. Old. Weathered. 3 simple rules printed in fading ink. No mirrors in your room. No singing after 8 p.m. No planting flowers. Brother Ton drives faster now, his heart racing. The building shrinks in his mirror, but the shadow, that impossible shadow, seems to follow him even as he turns the corner. He grabs his phone with shaking hands, nearly dropping it twice. He needs to warn someone. Needs to tell people. Needs to. His phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. Why did you run? We have so many beautiful apartments available. Come back. Come home. Another text. Room 7 is vacant. Just for you. Another. Your old neighbors miss you. The messages keep coming, one after another, his phone buzzing continuously in his hand. Brother Ton throws it onto the passenger seat, but he can still see the screen lighting up with notification after notification. And in his rearview mirror, even though he's miles away now, he swears he can see that building. Still there. Always there. Growing taller with each glance. The shadow spreading wider. The windows reflecting something that isn't quite light. His phone buzzes one final time. Against his better judgment, Brother Ton glances at the screen. The message makes his blood freeze. You can run, Brother Ton. But Lagos is expensive. And eventually, you need a place to stay. We'll be waiting. We are always waiting. The rent is very reasonable. If you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you next will change everything. Drop a comment. Do you think Brother Ton is safe? Do you think the entity is really gone? Or has it just found a new way to feed? Brother Ton is still driving. Still running. But in a city of 20 million people, where affordable housing is scarce and landlords hold all the power, where can someone really run to? The last thing Brother Ton sees before he forces himself to look away from the mirror is the building's rooftop. And standing there, barely visible against the darkening sky, is a figure in white. A woman with coral beads. Zainab. Or something wearing her face the way it once wore Mama Kemi's. The figure raises one hand. Not waving. Beckoning. And somewhere in Lagos, in a building that shouldn't exist, in room 7 of a compound that was supposed to be demolished, a light turns on in an empty window. Waiting. Always waiting. Because in this city, everyone needs a home eventually. And some homes never let you leave.